Yo, what's going on, my people? I'm Daniel Tiluk. This is Talking Tactics Daily. Let's get into it. We're going to be recording a podcast tomorrow, so I don't think I'm going to be here tomorrow. Half Hope and I are going to come and we're going to tape the actual pod tomorrow. But the news just keeps coming. Football doesn't stop. So let's get to the news. Ruben Amorim has been sacked as Manchester United manager. I'm wearing red in solidarity with my Manchester United brethren out there. It's actually, you guys might actually feel good. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's a good feeling that you guys have that Amorim has left. For me, it would be kind of daunting, the situation that's happening. As a Chelsea fan, I can show some levels of empathy with the situation that you guys are going through, because I do see some particular through lines that maybe we can get into over the course of the next half hour. But so yeah, let's start with Ruben Amorim had been in charge at Manchester United for 14 months. So not a long time, but long enough to know what you know and to know what you have. He was appointed mid-season last season, and I was one that thought, that might not be such a bad thing for Ruben Amorim. Obviously, they're not going to sack him during the midst of last season. They were always going to let him get to the summer. And in my mind, I translated that as, well, maybe he gets to have preseason all season for last season to work out some of his ideas, to learn his squad, what players can play in this 3-4-3 formation that he was so wedded to. And I was like, it might actually work out for him. This season is more or less a write-off, thinking of last season. Last season was more or less a write-off. At the same time, Manchester United are a club that have objectives to reach. They need to be in Europe for their own financial reasons, for the brand of the club. Not even for financial reasons. Obviously, that's probably the most pressing issue on the minds of the board. But also, Manchester United are a club with a fan base that demands winning. They have to win. They need to win. The brand is only relevant insofar as the club maintains its reputation as a winner. And for the last, when did Sir Alex leave? 2013? For the last 13, 14 years, the brand has been the reputation of being a winner has slowly diminished. So they've gone through David Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Oli, and Ten Hag, I think, was after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think Ten Hag might be an interesting launching point if we haven't already launched, in the sense that the Ineos group, you know what? I'm getting ahead of my skis. Let's just stay with Amorim, because that's an even deeper discussion that I think relates to a larger footballing kind of crisis that we're in at the moment. But Manchester United needed to win something. They always need to win something. And last season, their opportunity to win something was the Europa League. Winning the Europa League gets you automatic qualification into the Champions League. The Champions League is a money-generating thing that would fix some of the financial issues that Manchester United are going through, not dissimilar in some ways to maybe Barcelona or, clubs that are, pulling levers, it seems, every summer. I don't think Manchester United are that bad, but it's pretty bad, especially according to my homie Carl Anker. He's always giving me bad financial information about what's going on at Manchester United. But in any event, losing a European final is bad, very bad. Losing a European final to Spurs in a season where you and Spurs are hovering over the relegation zone in 15th and 16th for a large percentage of the season. It doesn't even need to be a large percentage of the season. At any point of the season, for Spurs and Manchester United to be 15th and 16th is horrible. But I think that's where they ended, more or less. No higher than 14th, I want to say. And you lose to that Spurs, Postecoglou Spurs. It was bad. It's all bad. So that set the table and the expectation, or the mood in the camp, I would say, for this year. that this season had to be one of progression, obvious progression, one where Manchester United were not just kind of around, but they had to be some level of serious European challengers. And I think for the most part, they've succeeded in that goal, but it's not necessarily that they are where they are in the Premier League table. That more a comment on the rest of the league. And the Premier League is that Manchester United can be playing football this dire and still find themselves in and around, sixth place. Now, the Premier League table is in a position right now where 4 points below Manchester United is like 15th, 14th, and 4 points above them gets them into Europe, or not even into Europe, into the Champions League. So it could go either way. And in a season that's kind of on a knife's edge, you can't have your manager or head coach, should I say, in a press conference, just basically begging to be sacked. Like, he's had his full. And the question that comes to mind most immediately is Ruben Amorim to blame? And the short answer is yes, but the yes is a little bit more complicated than just a yeah. Okay, so he's won 38% of his Premier League matches, or of his Manchester United matches. That includes losses to a team like Grimsby. I'm good at geography. I don't know where to find Grimsby. I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty good at geography. I don't know where Grimsby's at on that island. I can't tell you. You can't lose to them. I caught myself in the camera. I'm just befuddled. Like, you can't lose to Grimsby. So when you have a season that's been set up that we need to see obvious signs of improvement, and you see the same just disgusting football over and over again. And of course there's bright spots. You can look at Cunha, you can look at Mbeumo, you can look at that's it. I mean, yeah, that's it. Like, those two. I don't think Sesko's been overly impressive. None of the defenders speaking to me. Lemons has been all right, but he hasn't been great. Mason Mount has improved. Can we say that? Can we say Mason Mount's been better? So just a little bit of movement there. But then you pair that with like the Kobe Mainu situation, which we'll get into. It's just like nothing's good is happening. So the manager goes into the press conference, or the head coach rather, goes into the press conference and says something to the effect of like, I came to Manchester United not to be the coach. I came here to be the manager, or I am the manager of Manchester United Football Club. I'm not the head coach. It goes back to what I was saying with Enzo Maresca. The manager the managers are few and far between. Most of the time in this new age 2020 football that we have, you're a head coach. You do what the sporting director tells you to do. You work in collaboration, but you're obviously a subordinate. You get to choose basic things. And I think there's even an impingement or infringement increasingly on those things that nominal managers, like old school managers, would have found sacrosanct. Nobody's telling me who I can't play. Nobody's telling me how long I can play this player. Nobody's telling me when to make substitutions. Nobody's telling me anything that has to do with what happens on the field. You're not dictating to me a formation, person in boardroom. Like, you're not doing that. And I can imagine someone like Amorim, whose system has been a serious point of contention for basically his whole tenure. And due to injuries, maybe players going to AFCON, Amad Diallo has been really good. That's a player that will add to that mix. But you lose Diallo, you lose Mbeumo. So that's a large section of your players who are playing well. Like you take out those two players, and then it's like, well, who's playing well in this team? So yeah, that the formation had, and I could see a long time Manchester United fans are like, we're just gonna stick to the same thing. We're just gonna keep getting dominated in midfield. We're only gonna play with two midfielders, even though one of them can't run. Sometimes both of them can't run, Ugarte and Casemiro. What is this? We're playing Bruno Fernandes in midfield when you're playing a formation with two number 10s, and he's more effective near the goal. Make it make sense, Mr. Amorim. So there's so many questions that Amorim had to answer in the sense of how did he use his at his fingertips. And I would say, in a sense, he built a rod for his own back because he was inflexible in his idea and his philosophy of football. But then I'm like, who gave him the steel with which to make the rods? If that makes sense. So of course he's over here constructing this thing for his own back. But who's giving him the materials? Is he buying them himself? In a matter of speaking, but Manchester United are the ones who are setting this situation in motion. They're the ones that do this. So when he comes into the press conference and he says what he says, it's so obvious that he's up to here with his level of frustration. Again, this is a guy who with Sporting Lisbon, he probably never lost 2 games back to back or 3 games back to back for sure. I think his winning percentage in Portugal was in the 70s or the 80s. Like, this is somebody who a large part of his identity, the way that he sees himself is as a winner. And to come to a situation, I mean, you can look at his face like, or I guess it's this way, because again, I'm mirrored, but he just looks tired. He looks sad. He looks like, just put me out of my misery. So apparently the question that sparked this was the last question that was asked of him in that press conference. If that journalist doesn't ask the question, maybe he survives. But he was like, no, I'm done here. So he just unloads like the worst possible thing you could say. And that seems to be a trend for Amorim. He was too honest for his own good. And when his honesty was pointed towards himself, when his honesty was pointed towards the players, those above him, I'm sure, could stomach it because there was a political incentive to make sure that the Ruben Amorim project succeeded. But once he started to point fingers above him and question those above him in terms of when he brings up, I'm not a manager or I'm not a head coach, I'm a manager. He's basically hinting to the media that people above me are stripping me of my power, or the perceived power, the power that I'm supposed to have. I think that's the point that he was trying to make. And once you do that, you bring into disrepute the motives or the intentions of your bosses. Just like what happened at Chelsea, your position becomes untenable. And I hope he got paid. Enzo Maresca seemed so disillusioned with the Chelsea thing that he wanted to leave. So he left by mutual consent. I think this was like a straight up sacking. And I think the difference there is Maresca had some credit in the bank. He'd actually won 2 trophies, one European trophy and then the Club World Cup. Amorim had no credit in the bank. I think everyone was more or less exhausted with the situation that was there. That brings us to Ineos and the Ten Hag thing that I wanted to touch on earlier. There's an overall lack of direction at Manchester United Football Club. It's been obvious, as I was saying, since Sir Alex. Sir Alex had an idea. I'm going to leave. I'm going to hand it to my Scottish homie, David Moyes, and hopefully he'll do an even better job for Manchester United than with better players that I'm leaving him than he was doing at Everton. That was the plan. But what happens when that plan flops in 8 months? They're like, okay, we're just gonna. It wasn't even 8 months. I know it was to the end of the season, but they bring in Ryan Giggs, then they hire Van Gaal, and we're on the train that I mentioned earlier. This is just another in the continuation of that. It starts, honestly, with Ten Hag. So Spurs, after they beat Manchester United in the European Cup final, they had a similar decision to make. Do we keep Postecoglou or do we let him go? Yes, he's won a trophy, and we haven't won a trophy. I think they hadn't won a trophy since the 2007 or 2008 League Cup against Chelsea. Who's my man? Was it Wingate? Who's that guy? He played at Real Madrid for a time. I forget, it's Jonathan Wingate is the name that comes to mind. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I'll put it in the notes. They hadn't won a trophy in so long. So that you could easily see Spurs just, we found a guy that can win us a trophy, we'll keep him. But Postecoglou, the season was so bad that they got rid of him. Manchester United were in that exact same situation the season prior with Ten Hag. They were going to sack him. Of course they were going to sack him. And then he messes around, escapes against Coventry in the semifinal. Then messes around, beats Manchester City, waves to the crowd as if he's leaving. And then it took them like 10 weeks to figure out what they were going to do. And then they extend him and then they sack him and bring in Amorim. It just shows the level of dysfunction that you would have assumed the Glazers would be at the helm of. But no, this you can't even really put it on the Glazers because Ineos have come in under the stewardship of Radcliffe, the billionaire. Again, don't assume money or don't link money with intelligence. Just because this person is rich and has football sporting experience, because I don't know, is he the one who sails ships or is that Branson? Forget it. I know Ineos are involved. They have like Nice and different clubs like that. So I don't need to get into the weeds on billionaires doing stupid shit. But they clearly don't know what they're doing. Now, they've tried to latch on to Manchester City's success. So they bring in Jason Wilcox as their sporting director or director of football, who was at Manchester City from 2012 to 2023. So you're looking at like one of the most successful periods ever in the history of English football. And Manchester United think, we'll just go across town and get a guy from that setup and plug him into the sporting behemoth that is Manchester United, and hopefully it will work. But things just haven't connected. I do wonder if maybe Enzo Maresca is looking at that. Like maybe, I don't know if he has a relationship with Wilcox or not, but it does seem an obvious, if he wants to get right back into management, I mean, it's right there for him. But again, you're jumping into a situation where you just left a setup that was putting their hands all in your stew. And now you want to get into another situation where they're going to have their hands in the stew pot as well. I don't know if that makes sense. The last time Manchester United stumbled into success was when they sacked a Portuguese manager and then got some former player. So perhaps the interim project of Darren Fletcher follows in the steps of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the limited success that Michael Carrick and Ruud van Nistelrooy found. So I get he'll be in charge against Burnley. And if that goes well, I could really see them giving him a legit opportunity, because this would be we need to return to our roots type vibe. Somebody who's connected with the olden days, but who still has something new about them, new ideas, but harkens and reminds of kind of the nostalgic days when Manchester United was legitimately the best team in the country, and even the best team in the world at times. So, honestly, I feel relieved for Amorim. Like, I'm happy. I even saw, online they're showing pictures with him and his wife. Bro looks like $1 million. He looks happy. I don't know what his buyout was. Bro might be feeling like $30 million or however much his buyout was. But yeah, he looked happy walking the streets of Manchester or wherever he was at with his significant other. So you can always just go back to Portugal, bro. Mourinho's at Benfica. I'm sure he'll get sacked soon enough. And I don't know if the Portuguese trade managers like the Italians do. But Mourinho's managed Porto and Benfica, so I guess you can. So that's always available. And what are the chances that Roberto Martinez just blows up at the World Cup? Like 70%, 75%, that they don't reach the objectives that people think they should, which is maybe like semifinal, quarterfinal at worst. So maybe he throws his hat in the ring to manage Portugal, although he seems a bit young, so maybe he doesn't want to do that. And he'll be fighting Mourinho for that job for sure. The last thing that I wanted to discuss was Kobbie Mainoo. If anybody's a winner here, it's Kobbie Mainoo, because that is a generational midfielder when played in the correct system. It just so happened that Ruben Amorim's system doesn't align with Kobbie Mainoo's style and his kind of physical limitations or abilities is maybe a better way to put it. So bringing in, whether it's Fletcher or just somebody who has a better idea of how to build a team with Mainoo in it, maybe saving his Manchester United career from who knows what could have happened in the next 3-4 weeks. Mainoo might have thought, hey, Amorim's staying. Maybe need to leave if I want to even make the next World Cup squad. I don't know. So back January 5th, I would hope that Mainoo is able to stay at Manchester United and fulfill the talent a lot of people think he has, that I certainly think he has, which is being one of the central midfielders in England. But anyway, au revoir from Manchester United, Ruben Amorim. I was going to talk about Wilfred Nancy being sacked, which is kind of where I feel Liam Roy Sr. is going to end up. But I'm going to save that. Roy Sr. is officially announced. So let's get it's this way. Let's get to the AFCON. All right. So Egypt 3, Benin 1. The score, if you didn't watch the game, looks very flattering. It flatters to deceive and how tepid and the Egyptians were at finding the goal. It must have been a great game. Let me add that it took 120 minutes. The goals that were scored, one of them was amazing. Atia's goal, the 1-0 that puts Egypt up 1-0. Great goal. Benin's equalizer comes from a deflection. Yasser Ibrahim in the added period scores a very good header. But like if he tried that 100 times, maybe he scores it 3. I think that's like a 3% chance that it hits the right place on his head, hits the right place on goal, targets the right place on the goal, and then the goalkeeper can't get there. And then Benin are looking for 2-2 to get penalties, and they have a late corner. And Mohamed Salah, I don't know where he finds the energy, but this is the celebration of his goal. But it's something that Liverpool are very good at, which is countering off set pieces. And however he found the energy, the afterburners, Benin basically had everybody forward except the goalkeeper. And you just see this red streak coming from the middle of the field. One of his teammates finds him. The goalkeeper tries to come out. Salah probably should use his right foot, but obviously he's left-footed, so he kind of uses a Trivela technique to bend it around the keeper. 3-1. Egypt advance. Is it anything to write home about? No. That Egypt struggled to break down Benin in the 90 minutes, is that problematic? Yes, because it's very likely that they're going to play Ivory Coast next, and Ivory Coast are not going to struggle either in transition or in their build-up play to exploit the space that Egypt leaves behind. So that's dangerous, but survive and advance. Let's talk about Nigeria. Nigeria 4-0 against Mozambique. My friend Have Hope yesterday was like, hey, we need your support. Support us. I'm like, my guy, if Nigeria needs support against Mozambique, you're in more trouble than you realize if it needs outside support for this game against Mozambique. Then my brother, you're in serious danger. Talk to me in the next game when you have to play either Algeria or DRC. Then you can request my outside support. Ademola, Lookman, and Victor Osimhen are an insane combination. Perhaps the best combination of attacker plus striker that exists on the continent right now. I'm trying to think of a better one. Give me a second. Morocco don't have one. I mean, Diaz is good, but their striker, El Kabi, is no Osimhen. Neither is Nesri. Ivory Coast don't really have the number 9. Ghana, no. Cameroon, no. Congo, no. As much as I love Gaio Kakuta, he's not even more of an attacker in central midfield. South Africa, no. Egypt, no. I mean, Salah Marmoush is a pretty good duo, but in terms of attacking forward plus striker, Nigeria got it, which is why them not being in the World Cup is just stupid. So Lookman scores the first goal. Osimhen scores 2 and 3. Akor Adams scores 4. Osimhen has 34 goals in 49 games for the Nigerian national team. I'm cognizant of the clock here. So I just want to show love to my guy right here. I want to show love to my guy right here. Victor Iwobi. The first 2 goals are on him. He'll get no credit in the stat sheet. But he gets the hockey assist, the pre-assist, the pass before the pass. Now, the first goal that Lookman scores, I mean, Mozambique had no interest in pressing. So Iwobi gets the ball from the center back or the goalkeeper, I'm forgetting which, and he dribbles forward 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. We're actually going to do it 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. There was no pressure on the ball. He had the freedom of fans to do whatever he wanted to do. And you can't give someone with that eye for a pass that much time without any pressure. So Mozambique's tactics allowed a player like Iwobi to have the time and space to progress the ball in his own way. And this is the only point I kind of want to bring up here. If his uncle wasn't JJ Okocha, but if his uncle was anybody, just any random Nigerian, I feel like there would be more appreciation for his ability to progress the ball. Certainly this second iteration of his career, the latter iteration of his career. Maybe not the Arsenal Iwobi, but certainly this Fulham version of Iwobi. I feel like there would be a bit more appreciation, but he's tarnished by his old performances and this kind of ghost that his reputation is having to chase. You're never going to be JJ Okocha. Nobody is JJ Okocha. You can't. The only people that can do that are like Ronaldinho, and those are the players that's at Neymar. That's the tradition that JJ Okocha is in. There are no players like that. They don't really make them anymore. Obviously, they're around in places, but asking just because my father or my mother's brother is JJ Okocha, now I have to somehow figure out how to like dribble crazy and be this maverick enigma, mercurial type, just legendary dribbler. I'm never going to progress the ball that way. So him being judged or kind of measured by the ruler of his uncle is so unfair. Iwobi progresses the ball through vision and passing. So JJ Okocha might have had a pre-assist, but he would have just dribbled through the whole Mozambique team, laid the ball off to a guy who then finds Lookman or then finds Osimhen. Iwobi doesn't do it that way. He progresses the ball by straight pass to diagonal run or diagonal pass to a straight run. And he's very good and aware of where everybody is on the pitch. And it's to his own detriment sometimes because he tries passes that are maybe over elaborate or that his teammates can't fully understand. But yeah, Iwobi in this game was a perfect example of why it's unfair and has been for a long time to judge him by his familial relations. It's like my brother's very good at math. You shouldn't, because my brother's good at math, I should be good at math. Because I'm good at English, he should be good at English. And we're brothers. That has nothing to do with like a generation above and removed. So I'm sympathetic. I can't empathize, obviously, because I'm not that good at anything. But I can be sympathetic to Iwobi's like, damn, I'm good at football in my own way. He's reaching 100 caps for Nigeria. The only kind of caveat that I would give is perhaps he's had the opportunities to get as good as he is now and the opportunities to fail in the ways that he's failed because people trust that there's a good footballer in there somewhere. He comes from good stock, that kind of stuff. So that is part perhaps of the discussion, but this idea that Iwobi is mid and Iwobi is trash, he's not trash. He's not trash. He's just not good in the way that you think he should be good. So, Mali, Senegal, one quarterfinal done. Cameroon, Morocco, the other quarterfinal done. We still don't know the other two because they decided to stagger these for some reason. But tomorrow has Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, and Algeria, DRC. I want Burkina Faso to win because I'm a fan of Thomas Sankara. The political implications, actually, let me make myself big. The political implications of this game are quite serious because I'm sure if I ever hazard to even whiff to do the research, I would suspect in the 1980s, Ivory Coast had a hand in the overthrow or the coup that happened to Burkina Faso that took out Thomas Sankara and installed Blaise Compaoré. If I looked it up, I'm being facetious because I actually kind of know. But, that's besides the point. As long as Ivory Coast doesn't touch the guy that's in there now, we're good. As for Algeria, DRC, it's a toss-up. Anybody telling you what is going to happen, what they think would happen, will happen, it's a lie. It could be any score, but nobody's scoring more than 3. That's my prediction. Could be 3-3, 3-2, 3-1, 2-1, 1-0, 0-0. Could be anything. Nobody's getting to 4, as Nigeria did today. But that's the match of the round, I would think. And then Nigeria again. Now you can ask for my assistance. Have hope. You can ask for. I don't know what Ugandan football gods will do for you. But you can ask for my assistance or my reverse jinx or whatever you want to call for Nigeria DRC. In any event, I need to go for my walk. So I thank you for paying attention. As usual, the actual podcast is going to be out tomorrow. And it's going to be on Spotify. It's going to be on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Have Hope and I are going to talk about Maresca and Amorim and AFCON and all the other things that have transpired. Maybe we can get Carl Anka to come on and discuss his team. So thank you guys for paying attention. Leave a comment, leave a like. If you're new, subscribe. All the things that YouTubers say. Am I a YouTuber now? Jesus